Now, I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I upload this video, Thor ends up releasing a damage control response where he tries to manipulate his audience into siding with him, following Ross Scott, after several months, finally decided to directly respond to his criticism of Stop Killing Games in a proper video form, and absolutely clowned on him for his misinformed takes. Now, following this, Thor posted a tweet that he ended up deleting later, probably because he realized it wasn't getting the attention he was hoping for, but I don't care. I'm going to respond it regardless because here's the thing. When I initially made my response video to Thor, I was relatively cordial with the dude. But after realizing how much damage his take actually did to the campaign, a lot more than what I initially realized, I'm going to approach the conversation the same way he did, with vitriol. Also, as of writing the script for this video, I found out that he apparently blocked me. I have no idea why. I don't think I've ever tweeted at him. I doubt he ever watched my video from almost a year ago. But don't worry, after this video, he'll definitely have a good reason to block me. Sup Accursed Farms, I put out 2 videos disagreeing with your initiative 10 months ago, and I haven't talked about it since. Now your initiative has failed and you're blaming me for 33 minutes of the hour-long video covering it? Okay, so first of all, it was not just the 2 videos, and you know it. Secondly, I would hesitate to use the term disagreeing. You didn't disagree with the initiative, you straight up lied about it. And initially, I actually thought you might have misunderstood it, but I don't believe that anymore, and I'll explain why around the end of this video why I believe so. But you're just straight up mischaracterizing the actual goals of the initiative. You said that this was meant to prevent single player games from having online only requirements, which was not the case. You tried arguing that it was unfeasible to expect a live service game to have their servers operate forever when nobody was fucking asking for that in the first place. You see, there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with something. People can have different perspectives on things. But you did not have a different perspective, you were just simply lying. And yes, you definitely do share the blame for the initiative not succeeding because you contributed to a number of people having misinformed opinions on the goals of the initiative. Now, Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers is someone who has been pretty supportive of the cause, and I absolutely appreciate him for that. I want you to take that in mind before what I'm about to say. I'm gonna throw him under the bus just a little bit. Now, bear in mind, I'm not trying to blame him for anything. He's on our side at the end of the day, he's with us, he agrees with the cause. But I do think that when he initially covered the EU initiative, he did present misguided opinions, and I think even he would probably agree with me on that.
So one of the things that I have an issue with is when you read the words 12 million people. Those are just sales. Around the tail end of the crew life cycle, if you actually look at Steam charts, which is, again, just one example of people playing on the PC. Obviously, the game was released on Ubisoft and other platforms, but let's look at how many people were playing the crew. So when you look at the crew, typically around its release on Steam, December 2014, it had 12,000 something players. And obviously around 2018, when this massive drop-off occurred, this is when Ubisoft released the Crew 2 and then later the Crew Motorsport. So the amount of players that existed at this point, at least on Steam, did not show a significant amount of players. And this was obviously not worth more than paying to keep the game alive.
This is a pointless argument to make. This has absolutely no bearing on the main purpose of this campaign, which is to allow the players that purchase the games with their own fucking money to be able to play them regardless if the developers want to continue supporting these games. This point about player numbers is completely moot. It literally doesn't matter. The only people that give a fuck about how many active players the crew had are people that are trying to give justifications for why the servers had to be shut down. But here's the thing though. Nobody is trying to argue that the crew shouldn't have been shut down. If Ubisoft wants to stop supporting the game, they're 100% allowed to do that. That's totally fine. They're not a charity. They have to stop maintaining the servers at some point. The problem is that when they do shut down the servers, that shouldn't be the difference between those millions of customers being able to play the game or not. It doesn't matter how many of them were active on Steam. What if they want to play the game again? Like, I have a copy of Naruto Ultimate Ninja 5, a PS2 game that I've owned for years. I'm not always playing this game, but does that mean that because I'm not constantly playing this game like a fucking glutinous life service addicted animal that I shouldn't have the right to play the game at all? Fuck no. So why does it matter how many active players the game had? I'm not a Ubisoft executive. I don't have to justify their decision to shut down the servers with statistics and player counts.
But if you were to go out to the store and the store would literally say on the box of the game, like, you know when you purchase a pack of cigarettes and it basically says, hey bitch, you'll get lung cancer smoking all of this. Maybe on the packaging for these games, you should have a giant red strip that says, this game will only be alive for a period of so-and-so years.
That fixes literally nothing. Like, hey guys, we should mandate publishers to be more transparent about the fact that you don't own your games. Okay, cool. We still don't own our games. Like, what even is this point? Like, publishers already disclosed the fact they basically have the right to revoke your access to the game. Having bigger tags on the storefront isn't going to fix this issue. This is just a bad compromise for consumers. But you know, when I hear these 2 points, they sound suspiciously familiar.
First off, I don't like the idea in this that it has a player base of 12 million people. That is not how long-running games work. There is a large number of people that buy the game, and that player base slowly dwindles off until nobody is playing it anymore. Well, if we want to talk about this, let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game, and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game, or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. That needs to go away. A player should be well informed at the point of purchase that they are purchasing a license, not buying a game.
I wonder where he got those points from. And bear in mind, this is Mutahar, fucking Mutahar, the Linux user, the guy that advocates for physical media. If even he can be seduced by Thor's points, imagine all of the fucking normies that watched his video and got completely misled by all of his opinions. So yeah, don't believe Thor when he says that his videos didn't impact the trajectory of the initiative. It absolutely did. He knows it, and in fact, he's glad that it did, because this was his goal from the very beginning. Since you're so set on cutting up my responses into pieces to try to make me seem unhinged, I'm going to drop my videos here to show the actual context. There's also a massive FAQ on the first video that you can read through to see my reasoning. It's just so hilarious how he's bitching about being taken out of context. Bear in mind, everyone, that he was the one that refused to have a one-on-one conversation with Ross about the situation. And also, to go back to you, if you're going to hate me, at least hate me for what I'm actually saying. But those were the words that you said. You literally said every single word that Ross counter-argued. No one is putting words in your mouth. We're literally playing clips from your own streams. But you know, since he claims that we're being uncharitable, let's actually tackle the supposed videos that give context to his overall stances. So the first video is irrelevant because it's just him trying to justify why online games get shut down. Nobody from this movement is asking for live service games to not get shut down. He's literally arguing against air. The second video is him explaining why online games releasing server binaries would create a market of bad actors launching DDoS attacks to destroy online games. Oh, actually, no, let me specify. Destroying indie online games and then profit from those by hosting their own private servers because there wouldn't be any legal retaliation from the developers since they're no longer in business after getting bankrupt, and then the government wouldn't be able to enforce a law to prevent bad actors from profiting off of private servers. This is inspired by the fact that A, there are already IDS services designed to fight against DDoSs, and you know that you're literally a cybersecurity expert. IPs don't go public domain after the studios get shut down. They usually get transferred to the publisher, a shareholder, a next of kin, or in the worst case scenario, it wasn't decided in any legal contracts who the rights would go to, and they might need to settle this in court. It doesn't give anyone the right to make money off of someone else's IP. Copyright laws are still active. Denial of service attacks are still very much illegal. Even if the studio gets shut down, that doesn't mean that the publisher will. And if the game wasn't able to retain enough player base during its original run, then what the fuck gives you the impression that a bunch of low-profile hackers are gonna be able to profit off of private servers? And this is of course assuming that you even need to release server binaries in the first place. If your game is patched to be playable offline, then none of this is even an issue. The other point he made is that because the game was shut down and is no longer being supported, the game would never be able to have that same level of online activity that it used to have back when it was at its peak. Which is not wrong, he's correct in saying that, but somehow that justifies completely killing it off and not being accessible to the people that spend money to purchase the game. So in other words, Thor would rather the game be completely unplayable, like literally dead, like than actually being the online definition of dead, in which it's dead in the sense that there aren't really a ton of people playing online, but technically speaking, you can still play the game. But no, he would rather the game literally be dead, as in inaccessible. Like to him, that's a more preferable outcome. So There you go, fellas. This is the supposed missing context to his overall position on Stop Killing Games. It's up to you to decide if he still has a valid point. The only engagement I've seen that is level-headed has been from Louis Rossman. His video breaks down what I disliked and try to meet in the middle with a conversation that made sense. Thor, you literally refuse to talk to Ross. Stop with this bitch behavior. It is entirely your own fucking fault that you didn't have a conversation with Ross. He was more than willing to hash out any disagreements you two might have had, and you completely refused, all because he made comments about being an easy win for politicians. Get the fuck out of here. You don't seriously believe politicians give a fuck about our concerns? If you want to pass through them, you have to be just as cynical as them, and that is just a brutal reality. Also, that reply that you gave to Lewis, as written, this initiative would put a massive undue burden on developers both in AAA and indie to the extent of killing off live service games. That would not happen. Okay, first of all, you're not exactly making a convincing argument that this initiative is a bad thing by stating that this would kill live service games. Like, bro, you're just giving me more reasons to support this. Not that it matters, because this initiative wouldn't even have that effect regardless. Also, I will be honest, I don't give a fuck if this is a burden to developers. There, I said it. I don't care. Your industry has been scamming us consumers for years. When you have a system that is inherently abusive to consumers and you're trying to fix that system, it is inevitable that some burden will be put on the developers. And I'm sorry, but I don't have sympathy for the devs. I have to protect my rights at some point. So you know what? If there are developers, regardless if they're indie or AAA, who will be inconvenienced by a stricter law that mandates end-of-life plans, then you know what? Boo fucking who? You get what you fucking deserve. And frankly, if you don't understand the concept of basic consumer ownership, I don't think you fucking deserve to be involved in commerce in the first place. You clearly feel entitled to take as much away from the consumers, regardless of whether it violates their right to own the property that they paid money for. And if that's the mentality that you have, then fuck you. To quote Pirate Softer, this is me going mask off. If we have to deal with the amount of hostility that has been imposed on us over the years, I'm going to be hostile back. And to be honest with you, Thor will try to frame this as think of the indie developers, but ironically, indie developers tend to be the least guilty of these kinds of practices. Make no mistakes, the people that often shut down servers and leave them unplayable are by and large the AAA developers. They are the fucking enemies, not the indie developers. Indie developers are generally chill. Sometimes even their single player titles don't have any DRM, including on Steam's own DRM. Very few of them leave their games unplayable after reaching end of life. And if there are some that do that, then fuck those indie developers too. I'm not gonna softball just because they're a smaller independent developer. Bad practices are still bad practices. I'm fine talking to people that are level-headed about this and can have a conversation, but to be real, dude, every time you've been involved, your orbiters turn shit toxic instantly and it sets me off. What a fucking pussy. First of all, like I've said multiple times, you were the one that refused to talk to Scott. There wasn't any rabid fanbase attacking you before you made your initial reaction to this initiative. You had every opportunity to have a reasonable discussion about the situation, but you started off saying shit like this.
Oh shit, now this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. No. Eat my entire ass. That the level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I drop the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
This is the guy that's bitching about Ross's community being toxic. But you know what the funny part is? A lot of the toxicity targeted towards him is probably not even coming from Ross's community. It's coming from people that are tired of seeing video games getting destroyed for bullshit DRM and online-only requirements. This frustration didn't come out of nowhere. It's something that's been boiling inside of us for years. Now, for obvious reasons, I don't endorse any of the more extreme reactions like death threats, which I'm sure he might have received here and there, which I don't condone. I think that if you're getting to the point where you're sending death threats to someone over fucking video games, you're mentally a child and you need to get a life, dumbass. But the general negative pushback he's been getting, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for him. And I think it's really important to shed highlight about the kind of person Thor actually is. This guy has previously worked for Activision Blizzard. He is the son of the former senior project manager at Blizzard Entertainment. He is currently developing a live service games with his independent studio. This guy is the fucking gaming industry. He is literally the people they were trying to fight against. He is not an advocate for consumer rights. He's a rat. He's an industry plant. And his goal from the very beginning has been to slander this campaign and prevent it from going anywhere. And it fucking worked. This guy is not a reasonable and cordial person. He has a history of lying and misinterpreting facts. And make no mistakes, he will continue to try to do this even after he's exposed. If he truly believed that he was in the right, he wouldn't have deleted this comment, nor the initial response he gave to Ross, nor the comment that Ross left in his YouTube video. He wouldn't have reworded himself after realizing how bad he sounded, because here's the reality. This is what Thor actually believes.
A very strange demand from people in the gaming industry where live service games should live forever, whether in the hands of the developer or otherwise. And I can't get behind that shit. I think live service games getting sunsetted is fine. I've always thought that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I have no problems with the end of a video game.
This is his stance. This is what I mean when I say he is the industry that we're trying to fight against. He's not someone who disagrees with the way we're approaching this issue. He's outright against the concept of consumers having the right to own the games long after they're no longer supported. This is just what he believes, and if that's the case, I don't care what you have to say. You clearly have your own self-interest as a video game publisher, so I have mine as a buying consumer. I will continue to fight for the rights of us consumers to be able to own our games, and if anyone is against that, then my only message to them is, fuck you.